The old apartment building stood like a tired giant against the evening sky. Paint peeled from its walls like old skin, and the windows stared out at the world with a weary sadness. In the small courtyard behind the building, 8-year-old Lily rolled her wheelchair in slow circles, her small hands gripping the wheels with determination. Lily had been living in this place for 4 long years now, ever since the terrible car accident that took her parents away forever. She barely remembered their faces anymore, just the warm feeling of being loved that seemed like a distant dream. The relatives who took her in after the tragedy weren't cruel, but they weren't kind either. They fed her and gave her a corner to sleep in, but that was where their care ended. The other children in the neighborhood called her names sometimes. Wheels, they would shout, or robot legs. But Lily had learned to smile anyway. Her mama had always told her that smiles were like sunshine, they could brighten even the darkest days. So she kept that sunshine in her heart, even when everything else felt cold and gray. On this particular evening, the air was thick with the smell of cooking food from open windows, and the sound of television sets playing too loud. Lily loved this time of day because most people were inside eating dinner with their families. It meant she could practice moving around without anyone staring at her or asking uncomfortable questions about why she couldn't walk. She had been born with something called spina bifida. The doctors used big words to explain it, but all Lily really understood was that her legs didn't work the way other people's legs did. She had tried to walk with special metal supports when she was younger, but they hurt and made everything so much harder. The wheelchair was better. It was like having wheels instead of feet. And sometimes she pretended she was a race car driver speeding around corners. As she rolled past the building's entrance, she could hear Mr. and Mrs. Thompson arguing again through their thin apartment walls. They fought a lot these days, usually about money or work or how tired they were. Lily tried not to listen, but sometimes she wondered if they fought about her too. She ate their food and used their electricity, and she knew money was tight. She had heard Mrs. Thompson on the phone once, talking to someone about finding a better situation for the girl. The thought made Lily's stomach feel funny, like when you're on a swing going too high. She didn't want to go somewhere else. This wasn't a perfect home, but it was the only home she had. Where would she go? What would happen to her wheelchair, or her few special things, or her stuffed rabbit named Coco that she had managed to keep from her old life? She pushed these scary thoughts away and focused on her evening practice. Lily had set up a little obstacle course for herself using empty boxes and a few stones. She would weave between them, practicing her turns and working on going backwards. Physical therapy was expensive, so she had learned to do her own exercises. She had watched other kids ride bicycles and skateboards, and she figured her wheelchair wasn't so different. It just took practice and patience. As she completed another lap around her makeshift course, Lily noticed a man stumbling toward the building entrance. She recognized him. He lived in apartment 3B above the Thompsons. His name was Robert, and he worked at the construction site down the street. At least, he used to work there. Lately, she had seen him coming home at all hours, walking in that funny, zigzag way that made her think of a broken shopping cart. Robert looked terrible tonight. His work clothes were dirty and wrinkled, like he had been wearing them for days. His hair stuck up in odd directions, and there was something scary about his eyes. They looked angry and sad at the same time, like storm clouds that couldn't decide whether to rain or thunder. Lily had always been curious about people. Her mama used to say she had a gift for seeing the good in everyone, even when they couldn't see it in themselves. Looking at Robert now, she didn't see a scary man. She saw someone who looked lost and hurt, the way she felt sometimes when she missed her parents so much it made her chest ache. Without really thinking about it, Lily rolled her wheelchair closer to where Robert was fumbling with his keys. He kept dropping them, muttering words under his breath that she wasn't supposed to hear. His hands were shaking, and he seemed to be having trouble standing up straight. "Are you okay, mister?" Lily asked in her small, clear voice. Robert looked down at her with those stormy eyes, and for a moment, Lily thought maybe she had made a mistake. There was something different about him tonight, something that made the hair on her arms stand up like when lightning was coming. But then something shifted in his expression, and Lily saw what she had been looking for, that hurt, lost look that reminded her of herself. Maybe this man needed someone to care about him too. Maybe he needed a family just like she did. "You look sad," she said gently, pulling a little closer. "My mama used to say that everyone needs someone to care about them. Are you lonely?" Robert stared at her for a long moment, and Lily could smell something strange and sharp on his breath. She didn't know what it was, but it made her feel a little dizzy. "I had a little girl once," Robert said, his words coming out slow and thick. "But she's gone now. Everything's gone." Lily's heart jumped with hope and excitement. This man understood what it felt like to lose family. Maybe they could help each other. Maybe he could be the papa she had been praying for, and she could be like the daughter he had lost. "I don't have a papa anymore," she said, her voice full of innocent hope. "Maybe we could take care of each other? I'm really good at making people feel better. I know songs and stories, and I can make really good paper airplanes." She looked up at him with bright, trusting eyes, the same way she had looked at every adult since her parents died, always hoping to find someone who might want to love her. "Would you like to be my papa?" she asked, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. "I promise I wouldn't be any trouble. I can do lots of things even though my legs don't work. I can cook eggs and make my own bed, and I never cry at night anymore. Not even when I have bad dreams." The hope in her voice was so pure, so innocent, that it cut through the air like sunlight through clouds. This little girl, who had lost everything and been forgotten by almost everyone, was offering her whole heart to a stranger just because he looked sad. For just a second, something flickered in Robert's eyes. Maybe it was surprise, or recognition, or even a tiny spark of the man he used to be before the drinking and the anger took over. But then, the darkness rushed back in, and that spark disappeared like a candle being blown out. The alcohol in his system mixed with all the rage and pain he had been carrying, and Lily's innocent question became the trigger for an explosion that would change both their lives forever. What happened next would haunt Lily's dreams for months to come. Robert's face twisted with rage as her innocent words seemed to hit him like a physical blow. The alcohol had stripped away whatever kindness might have lived in his heart, leaving only bitterness and pain. "Papa," he screamed, his voice echoing off the apartment building walls. "You think I could be your papa? Look at you. You're broken. Nobody wants a broken kid." Before Lily could even process what was happening, Ert's foot connected hard with the side of her wheelchair. The force sent her tumbling sideways, and she crashed to the concrete with a sickening thud. Her small body hit the ground hard, and pain shot through her arm where she tried to break her fall. Lily lay there on the cold pavement, her wheelchair wheels still spinning slowly beside her. The shock was worse than the physical pain. In her 8 years of life, no adult had ever hurt her on purpose. Even when people were unkind, they had never been violent. She looked up at Robert with wide, terrified eyes, not understanding what she had done wrong. "Please," she whispered, tears streaming down her dirty cheeks. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you mad." But Robert wasn't finished. The sight of her lying there seemed to fuel his rage even more. "Sorry?" he shouted. "You think sorry fixes anything? My daughter is dead. My wife left me. I lost my job. And you want me to play house with some crippled kid?" He raised his foot again, and Lily closed her eyes tight, waiting for another blow that would surely come. She had nowhere to run, no way to protect herself. All she could do was lie there and hope it would be over soon. But the second kick never came. "Freeze! Police!" The commanding voice cut through the evening air like a sword. Detective Kate Morrison had been driving home from another long day at the federal courthouse when she spotted the commotion in the apartment courtyard. At first, she thought it might be kids playing rough, but as she got closer, she realized she was watching a grown man attack a child in a wheelchair. Kate had seen a lot of terrible things in her 15 years of law enforcement, but this sight made her blood boil in a way that surprised even her. She was out of her car and running before she even fully realized what she was doing. Robert spun around to face this new threat, his eyes wild and unfocused. Kate was a small woman, barely 5 feet 4 inches tall, but she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had faced down much bigger and scarier people than this drunk construction worker. "Step away from the child. Now," she ordered, her hand moving instinctively to her service weapon. She didn't draw it, but the gesture was clear enough. Robert swayed on his feet, trying to focus on this new person who had appeared out of nowhere. "This ain't your business, lady," he slurred. "Just some neighborhood kid being annoying. Making you hurt a disabled child?" Kate's voice was ice cold. "Turn around and put your hands behind your back. You can't arrest me for disciplining some brat who won't mind her own business," Robert protested, but even through his drunken haze, he could see that this woman wasn't going to be intimidated. Kate ignored his protests and quickly cuffed him, reading him his rights in a voice that shook with barely controlled anger. But even as she secured the suspect, her eyes kept drifting to the small figure still lying on the ground beside the overturned wheelchair. Once Robert was safely in the back of her patrol car, Kate knelt down beside Lily. The little girl was still crying, but trying to be brave about it. Kate had dealt with plenty of crime victims over the years, but something about this child's quiet dignity in the face of such cruelty touched her heart in an unexpected way. "Hey there, sweetheart," Kate said softly, her voice completely different from the harsh tone she had used with Robert. "My name is Kate. I'm a police officer, and you're safe now. Can you tell me where it hurts?" Lily looked up at this stranger, who had appeared like an angel to save her. Kate had kind eyes, the color of chocolate, and when she smiled, little wrinkles appeared at the corners that made her face look warm and trustworthy. "My arm hurts a little," Lily admitted, wiping her nose with her good hand. "And I think I scraped my knee, but I can't really feel it because of my legs." Kate carefully helped Lily sit up, checking her over for serious injuries. The child seemed to be mostly shaken up rather than badly hurt, but Kate insisted on calling an ambulance anyway. While they waited, she righted the wheelchair and helped Lily get settled back into it. "What's your name, honey?" Kate asked, crouching down so she was at eye level with the child. "Lily," came the quiet response. "I live here with my aunt and uncle." "Well, they're not really my aunt and uncle, but they take care of me since my parents died." Kate felt a familiar pang in her chest at those words. She knew all too well what it felt like to lose family, though her own losses had come later in life. Her husband David had died in a car accident 3 years ago, and with him had gone their dreams of having children together. The doctors had told them for years that kids probably wouldn't happen naturally, but they had been saving money for fertility treatments when the accident happened. "Can you tell me what happened with that man?" Kate asked gently. Lily's story came out in bits and pieces. She explained how she had just been trying to be nice, how Robert had looked so sad and lonely. She couldn't understand why offering to be his family had made him so angry. "I thought maybe he needed someone to love him," Lily said, fresh tears starting to flow. "My mama always said that hurt people sometimes hurt other people. But I thought, if I was really good and didn't cause any trouble, maybe he would want to keep me." The innocence in those words hit Kate like a physical blow. This child had been brutally attacked, and she was still trying to understand what she had done wrong. She was still thinking about taking care of others instead of being angry about what had happened to her. When the ambulance arrived, Kate rode along to the hospital. She told herself it was just part of the job, making sure the victim was properly cared for. But deep down, she knew it was more than that. Something about Lily had awakened feelings Kate had buried along with her husband. At the hospital, Kate learned more about Lily's situation. The Thompsons showed up eventually, but their relief was obvious when they realized Kate wasn't holding them responsible for what had happened. Mrs. Thompson even mentioned that they had been thinking about calling social services anyway, since taking care of a disabled child was more than they had bargained for. Kate found herself getting angry all over again, but this time at the adults who were supposed to be protecting this brave little girl. As she watched Lily chatting with the nurses, making them smile despite everything she had been through, Kate started to wonder if maybe fate had brought them together for a reason. The social worker who arrived at the hospital confirmed Kate's worst fears. Lily would likely end up in the system, bouncing from foster home to foster home until she aged out at 18. Kids with disabilities had a much harder time finding permanent placements, especially older kids who weren't babies anymore. That night, as Kate drove home to her empty house, She couldn't stop thinking about Lily's brave smile and the way she had tried to comfort Robert even after he hurt her. For the first time in 3 years, Kate started to wonder if maybe her life could have a different purpose than the one she had planned. 3 days after the attack, Kate found herself sitting in a government office that smelled like old coffee and broken dreams. The social worker, Mrs. Chen, shuffled through a stack of papers while explaining Lily's options. None of them sounded good. "The group home across town has an open," Mrs. Chen said without looking up. "It's not ideal for a child with her needs, but they have wheelchair access. The waiting list for specialized foster families is quite long." Kate had been telling herself she was just here to check on Lily's case, to make sure the system was doing right by the brave little girl who had touched her heart. But as she listened to the cold, practical discussion about where to warehouse this child, something inside her snapped. What about temporary foster placement? Kate heard herself asking. "While you look for something permanent?" Mrs. Chen looked surprised. "Are you interested in fostering, Detective Morrison? The process usually takes several months of training and background checks." "I'm already background checked through the federal system," Kate said quickly. "And I have emergency placement certification from a case I worked 2 years ago. Could we do a temporary arrangement?" The words were coming out of her mouth before her brain could catch up. Kate had no experience with children, especially children with special needs. Her house wasn't set up for a wheelchair. She worked long hours and traveled for cases. This was crazy. But then she remembered Lily's face in the hospital, the way the little girl had asked if Kate would visit her again. She remembered how Lily had worried more about whether Robert was okay than about her own injuries. This child deserved better than being shuffled around like unwanted furniture. 2 weeks later, Kate stood in her driveway watching a social services van pull up to her house. She had spent every free moment preparing, installing ramps and lowering kitchen counters. She had read everything she could find about spina bifida and watched countless YouTube videos about caring for children with disabilities. But nothing had prepared her for how nervous she felt right now. Lily emerged from the van clutching a small backpack and her stuffed rabbit. She looked tiny and lost in front of Kate's big house, like a flower that had been transplanted to foreign soil. "Hi Lily," Kate said, trying to keep her voice cheerful. "Welcome home." The word home hung in the air between them. They both knew this was temporary, just until the system found Lily a real family. But something about saying it out loud made it feel more real, more possible. The first few days were harder than Kate had expected. Lily was polite and grateful, almost painfully so. She said please and thank you for everything, whatever Kate put in front of her without complaint, and never asked for anything. It was like living with a very well-behaved ghost. Kate realized that Lily was trying so hard to be perfect because she was terrified of being sent away again. The little girl had learned that her worth depended on how little trouble she caused, how easy she was to ignore. "You know," Kate said one evening as they sat at the dinner table, "you're allowed to have opinions about things. Like food, for instance. Do you actually like green beans? Or are you just eating them to be polite?" Lily looked up with wide eyes, as if this was a trick question. "I'm supposed to eat my vegetables," she said carefully. "That's not what I asked," Kate said with a gentle smile. "I asked if you like them. It's okay if you don't. I won't be mad." It took several long moments before Lily whispered, "They're kind of mushy." Kate laughed, and the sound seemed to surprise them both. "You're absolutely right. They are mushy. How about we try carrots tomorrow instead?" Small breakthroughs like this happened every day. Kate learned that Lily loved strawberry ice cream, but was too shy to ask for seconds. She discovered that the little girl was incredibly smart, reading books meant for kids much older than 8. She found out that Lily had taught herself to braid friendship bracelets and had been making them for months with no one to give them to, but trust was still fragile. One evening, Kate came home from work to find Lily crying quietly in her room. When Kate asked what was wrong, Lily just shook her head and said she was fine. It took an hour of patient questioning before the truth came out. "I broke your lamp," Lily finally admitted through her tears. "I was trying to dust it like Mrs. Thompson always made me do, and I knocked it over with my wheelchair. I'm sorry." I know you'll probably want me to leave now." Kate's heart broke a little more. She knelt down beside Lily's bed and took the child's small hands in hers. "Lily, let me," she said softly. "Accidents happen. That lamp cost $12 at the thrift store. You are worth more than 1,000 lamps. I'm not sending you anywhere because of a broken piece of glass." But Lily had heard promises before from adults who didn't keep them. It would take time for her to believe that Kate was different. The real turning point came 3 weeks into their arrangement. Kate had been called away suddenly for a work emergency, leaving Lily with a babysitter. When Kate returned that evening, she found Lily having a panic attack, convinced that Kate had decided she was too much trouble and wasn't coming back. "Everyone leaves," Lily sobbed as Kate held her. "My parents left, even though they didn't want to. The Thompsons wanted me to leave. Why would you be different?" Kate felt tears pricking her own eyes as she rocked this broken little girl. "Because," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "know what it feels like to lose everyone too. My husband died 3 years ago. We were going to have children together, but then he was gone, and I thought I would never get to be a mom." Lily pulled back to look at Kate's face. "You wanted to be a mama?" "More than anything," Kate admitted. "And then I met you, and I started to think that maybe families don't always happen the way we plan them. Maybe sometimes they happen because 2 people need each other." "Do you need me?" Lily asked in wonderment. Kate realized with sudden clarity that she did. This house had been too quiet for too long. Her life had been all work and grief for 3 years. Lily had brought laughter and purpose, and the kind of love Kate had forgotten existed. "Yes," she said simply. "I need you very much." From that night forward, things changed between them. Lily started asking for things she wanted. She began showing Kate her artwork and sharing stories about her parents. She even started complaining when Kate made dinner too spicy or stayed at work too late. Kate learned to braid hair by watching online tutorials. She figured out how to help with homework and navigate parent-teacher conferences. She discovered that she actually enjoyed the chaos of having another person in her carefully ordered life. The social worker visits became less frequent as it became clear that this placement was working. Mrs. Chen mentioned that they were still looking for a permanent family, but her tone suggested she wasn't trying very hard. Even she could see that Kate and Lily were healing each other. One evening, as Kate was tucking Lily into bed, the little girl asked the question that had been hanging between them for weeks. "Kate, what happens when they find me a real family?" Kate was quiet for a long moment, choosing her words carefully. "What would you want to happen?" "I want to stay with you," Lily whispered. "But I know I'm just temporary." Kate brushed a strand of hair from Lily's forehead. "What if you didn't have to be temporary? What if we made this real?" The hope that bloomed in Lily's eyes was brighter than any lamp Kate had ever owned. 6 months had passed since that terrible night in the apartment courtyard, and life had settled into a rhythm that felt surprisingly natural. Kate's house no longer echoed with emptiness. Instead, it buzzed with the sounds of Lily's laughter, the whir of wheelchair wheels on hardwood floors, and the gentle chaos that comes with sharing your life with another person. Lily had started 3rd grade at the local elementary school, and for the first time in her life, she was thriving academically. Her teacher, Miss Rodriguez, called Kate one afternoon with news that made both of them proud. Lily scored in the top 5% of her class on the state reading test, Miss Rodriguez explained over the phone. She's been helping other students with their reading during free time. Has she always been this bright? Kate smiled as she watched Lily through the kitchen window, racing her wheelchair around the backyard obstacle course they had built together. "I think she just needed someone to believe in her," Kate replied. But the biggest change wasn't in Lily's grades or her confidence, though both had grown tremendously. The biggest change was in how she saw herself. She no longer apologized for existing or tried to make herself invisible. She had opinions about everything from what cereal to buy to which movies to watch on weekends. "Kate," Lily called one Saturday morning, wheeling into the kitchen with her hair still messy from sleep. "Can we make pancakes? The kind with blueberries? And can I invite my friend Jessica over to play?" These simple requests would have seemed ordinary to most people, but to Kate, they represented a miracle. Lily was acting like a normal child, making demands, asking for treats, wanting to have friends over. She was finally comfortable enough to take up space in the world. Kate had changed, too, though she didn't fully realize it until her partner Detective Mike Rodriguez pointed it out during their lunch break one Tuesday. "You're different," he said, unwrapping his sandwich. "Happier, more patient with the difficult cases. What's going on?" Kate thought about his question as she sipped her coffee. "I guess having Lily around has reminded me what's really important. These cases we work, they're not just files anymore. They're someone's family, someone's child." It was true. Her work had taken on new meaning since Lily came into her life. When she investigated crimes against children, she thought about Lily. When she saw parents who didn't appreciate what they had, she thought about all the love she had to give that had been sitting unused for so long. The transformation hadn't been without challenges. There were still nights when Lily woke up from nightmares about Robert, and Kate had to hold her until the fear passed. There were moments when Kate worried she wasn't doing enough, wasn't the right person for this job. But then something unexpected happened that would test everything they had built together. It was a rainy Thursday evening when Kate's doorbell rang. She wasn't expecting anyone, and Lily was at the kitchen table working on a science project about butterflies. Kate opened the door to find a man she recognized but hadn't seen in months. Robert stood on her porch, looking completely different from the angry, drunk man she had arrested. His clothes were clean and pressed. His hair was neatly combed. His eyes, which had been wild and unfocused that terrible night, were clear and filled with something Kate didn't expect to see: genuine remorse. "Detective Morrison," he said quietly, "I know I have no right to be here, but I was hoping I could speak with you for a few minutes." Kate's hand moved instinctively toward where her weapon would be if she were on duty. Every protective instinct she had developed as Lily's guardian screamed at her to slam the door and call for backup. "What do you want?" she asked, not opening the door any wider. "I want to apologize," Robert said simply. "To you, and to Lily, if she's willing to listen. I know that might seem impossible after what I did, but I had to try." Kate studied his face, looking for signs of deception or lingering anger. What she saw instead was a man who looked like he had been carrying a heavy weight for months and was desperate to put it down. "I've been sober for months," Robert continued. "I'm in therapy, anger management, the whole program. I know none of that excuses what I did to that little girl, but I wanted you both to know that I remember everything, and I'm horrified by my actions." From behind Kate came the soft sound of wheelchair wheels on hardwood. Lily had heard voices at the door and come to investigate. When she saw Robert standing there, her face went pale and she instinctively rolled her chair backward. Kate immediately stepped protectively in front of her, but Lily's voice stopped her. "It's okay, Kate," Lily said softly. "I want to hear what he has to say." Kate looked down at this brave little girl who continued to amaze her every day. "Are you sure? You don't have to do this." Lily nodded, though Kate could see her hands trembling slightly as she gripped her wheelchair wheels. "I've been having dreams about him. Maybe this will help them go away." Robert knelt down on the porch, so he was closer to Lily's eye level, though he was careful not to come any closer. "Lily, I know you probably don't remember me very well, but I remember you, and I remember what I did to you." "Why?" Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I just wanted to help you." "Why did you hurt me?" Kate watched Robert's face crumble at the innocent question. She could see him struggling to find words that could possibly explain the unexplainable. "Because I was very sick," he said finally. "Not sick in my body, but sick in my heart and my mind. I was drinking too much, and I was angry about losing my own little girl. When you offered to be my family, it reminded me of everything I had lost, and I took that pain out on you instead of dealing with it like a grown-up should." "You had a little girl?" Lily asked. Robert nodded, tears starting to form in his eyes. "Her name was Amy. She died in the same car accident that took my wife. I blamed myself, and instead of getting help, I started drinking. That's not an excuse for what I did to you, just an explanation." Lily was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. Kate could practically see the wheels turning in the child's mind as she tried to understand how grief could turn someone cruel. "I'm sorry your little girl died," Lily said finally. "That must hurt a lot." The simple compassion in those words broke something open in Robert. He started crying, not the angry, bitter tears of a drunk, but the genuine grief of a father who had lost everything and then lost himself. "I don't deserve your kindness," he said through his tears. "I hurt you when you were trying to help me. That's something I'll have to live with forever." "But you're better now?" Lily asked. "I'm trying to be," Robert said. "Every day, I try to be the kind of person my daughter would be proud of. The kind of person who would never hurt a child who was just trying to be kind." Kate felt her own eyes filling with tears as she watched this unlikely conversation unfold. She had seen plenty of criminals express remorse over the years, but this felt different. This felt real. "I have a real mama now," Lily said, reaching back to take Kate's hand. "She takes care of me and loves me just the way I am." Kate squeezed Lily's hand, feeling a surge of love so strong it almost knocked her over. In that moment, she realized that the paperwork didn't matter. The official adoption process they had started didn't matter. They were already a family in every way that counted. Robert smiled through his tears. "I'm glad," he said. "You deserve someone who sees how special you are." As he stood to leave, Robert turned back one more time. "Detective Morrison, thank you for saving her that night, and thank you for giving her the family she deserves." After he left, Kate and Lily sat together on the couch, processing what had just happened. "Are you okay?" Kate asked. Lily nodded thoughtfully. "I think so." He seemed different, sad, but not scary anymore. "People can change," Kate said. "Sometimes it takes losing everything to realize what really matters. Like how you changed when your husband died?" Lily asked with the startling insight that children sometimes possess. Kate was quiet for a moment. "Yes, I suppose so. I thought my life was over when David died. But then I found you, and I realized it was just beginning in a different way." That night, as Kate tucked Lily into bed, the little girl asked a question that had been building for weeks. "Kate, when the adoption is final, will I really be your daughter forever?" "Forever and always," Kate promised. "No matter what, even when I'm a teenager and probably annoying." Kate laughed, especially then. As she turned off the light and headed toward her own room, Kate realized that Robert's visit had given them both something unexpected: closure, forgiveness, and the final piece of healing they needed to move forward as a real family. 1 year later, the courthouse felt different than it had during all those months of paperwork and meetings. Today, the boring government building had been transformed into something magical. Balloons tied to wheelchair handles bobbed gently in the air conditioning, and Lily wore her favorite purple dress, the one Kate had bought her for their first Christmas together. Judge Williams smiled down at them from her bench, her usually stern face soft with genuine warmth. She had presided over hundreds of adoption cases, but there was something special about this one that had touched even her professional heart. "Lily," Judge Williams said, "do you understand what's happening today?" Lily nodded eagerly, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Today, Kate becomes my real mama forever, and I become her real daughter forever." "That's exactly right," the judge said. "And Kate, do you promise to love and care for Lily as your own daughter, through good times and challenges, for the rest of your life?" Kate looked down at the little girl beside her, remembering the scared, broken child she had first met in that hospital room 18 months ago. That child was gone, replaced by this confident, joyful girl who filled Kate's life with laughter and purpose. "I promise," Kate said, her voice thick with emotion. "She already is my daughter in every way that matters. Then by the power vested in me by the state, I hereby declare this adoption final." Lily Chen Morrison, welcome to your forever family. The small crowd that had gathered in the courtroom erupted in cheers. Detective Mike Rodriguez was there with his wife and kids. Miss Rodriguez had taken a personal day to attend. Even Mrs. Chen from social services had come, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue, but the biggest surprise was sitting in the back row. Robert had asked Kate's permission to attend, wanting to witness the happy ending that had grown from such a terrible beginning. He looked healthy and peaceful, wearing a simple suit and carrying a small wrapped gift. After the ceremony, as people gathered around to congratulate the new family, Robert approached them carefully. Lily had grown comfortable with him over the past few months through occasional supervised visits, but Kate still watched him closely. "Congratulations," he said simply, offering his gift to Lily. "I made this for you." Inside the wrapping was a small wooden jewelry box, clearly handmade. The lid was carved with butterflies, a reference to the science project Lily had been working on the night he first came to apologize. "I've been taking woodworking classes," Robert explained. "It helps keep my hands busy and my mind focused. I thought you might like somewhere special to keep your treasures." Lily ran her fingers over the smooth wood, marveling at the intricate details. "It's beautiful," she said. "Thank you. There's something inside," Robert said quietly. Lily opened the box to find a small note written in careful handwriting. It read, "To Lily, you taught me that kindness is stronger than anger, and that forgiveness can heal even the deepest wounds. Thank you for giving me a chance to become better. Your friend, Robert." Kate felt tears prick her eyes as she watched this man who had once represented her worst fears about humanity kneel down to Lily's level. "I want you to know," it said to Lily, "that seeing you grow up happy and loved has been the best part of my recovery. You helped save my life just by being brave enough to forgive me." "People can change," Lily said, repeating words Kate had spoken to her many times, "and everyone deserves a second chance to be good." After the courthouse celebration, Kate and Lily went home to a house decorated with balloons and streamers. Kate's colleagues had surprised them with a small party, complete with the cake that read, "Welcome home, Lily Morrison." As the evening wound down and the last guests left, Kate and Lily found themselves alone in their living room, surrounded by Adoption Day gifts and cards. Lily was curled up on the couch, still wearing her purple dress, but with comfortable slippers on her feet. "Kate," Lily said, using the voice she reserved for serious conversations. "Yes, sweetheart? Do you think my first parents would be happy about today?" Kate had wondered when this question might come. They had talked about Lily's birth parents before, but always in the context of missing them. This was the first time Lily had asked about their approval. "I think," Kate said carefully, "that parents want their children to be loved and safe and happy above all else. And I think they would be grateful that you found someone who loves you as much as they did." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "I used to be scared that loving you meant I was forgetting them. And now, I think my heart just got bigger. There's room for missing them and loving you at the same time." Kate marveled at the wisdom that sometimes came from this 10-year-old girl who had lived through more than most adults. "That's exactly right," she said. "Love doesn't run out. The more you give, the more you have." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the sun set through their living room windows. This house that had once felt too big and too quiet now felt exactly right. "Kate," Lily said again. "What? I'm hungry. Can we have ice cream for dinner since it's a special day?" Kate laughed, the sound echoing through their home. "Absolutely. But only if we can eat it while watching that silly movie you like. The one with the talking animals?" "That's the one." As they made their way to the kitchen, Kate pushing Lily's wheelchair while Lily balanced the ice cream bowls on her lap, she reflected on how much their lives had changed. The scared, lonely detective who had once lived here was gone, replaced by a mother who had found her purpose in loving this extraordinary child. And Lily, the broken, discarded little girl who had once begged strangers to love her, was now confident in her place in the world. She knew she was wanted, cherished, and permanent. 6 months later, Kate stood in the backyard watching Lily race her wheelchair around the obstacle course that had grown more elaborate over time. Detective Mike's kids were visiting, and the yard was full of laughter and friendly competition. "Mom," Lily called out. She had started using the word naturally about 3 months after the adoption. "Come time us. Jessica thinks she can beat my record." Kate jogged over with her stopwatch, marveling at how the word "mom" still made her heart skip a beat every time she heard it. As she counted down for the race to begin, Kate caught sight of their neighbor Mrs. Patterson watching from her fence. The elderly woman had been skeptical when Kate first brought Lily home, making comments about how challenging it must be to raise a disabled child. Now, Mrs. Patterson waved and called out, "That girl of yours is something special, Kate. You're Lucky to have each other, Kate smiled and waved back. Yes, we are. That evening, as Kate tucked Lily into bed in the room they had painted together bright yellow with glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, Lily asked one final question. Mom, do you think we'll have more adventures together? Kate smoothed the covers and kissed Lily's forehead. I think we'll have a lifetime of adventures. Some big, some small, but all of them ours. Good, Lily said sleepily. I like our adventures. As Kate turned off the light and headed toward her own room, she paused in the doorway to look back at her daughter. The little girl who had once been unwanted and forgotten was now the center of Kate's universe, sleeping peacefully under a blanket of stars. Outside, the world continued its restless motion, full of broken people and difficult situations. But inside this house, two souls who had found each other against all odds were building something beautiful together, a family born not from blood, but from choice, commitment, and the kind of love that refuses to give up. In the end, that was the most powerful force of all.